The Bears have pulled off a blockbuster trade with the Panthers. We just kind of went through a reaction, but I do want to get into the weeds a little bit, talking about the Bears wide receiving core. And although it's so big that the Bears got rid of that top pick, turned it into a couple of first-round picks, I'll tell you what, DJ Moore coming in is the most underrated part of this trade, and it means the most to the Bears right now. Like, these picks could turn out to be great. But right now, right here, the biggest piece of this trade for the Bears in return is DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a number one wide receiver who is ready to play today for this team. DJ Moore is ready to go. And all of a sudden, you've got DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool as your top three, EQ St. Brown as your 4/blocking wide receiver, Cole Kmet's going to be your tight end. Velus Jones either breaks out or becomes more of a bust. We don't know, but those top three are very solid. You could build your foundation of wide receiving talent on those three. Plus, let's not forget, the Bears could even draft a wide receiver at 9 or at 61 or the year after. This is exciting. And I think right now, after being one of the worst wide receiving cores in all of football last year, the Bears have suddenly shot themselves up to at least mid-level, if not top 12 or top 10 with this receiving core. DJ Moore's a consensus number one, but then you got Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool, who are at least number twos, and they're very high-end number threes. You have depth, which I love. Now, it's not like you have a number one, then a bunch of sixes or fives. You have one, you have a two, and then another two who's going to be a three. Maybe it's Claypool, maybe it's going to be Mooney. The Bears have depth at their wide receiving core for the first time in a long time, and they have a quarterback who needs desperately wide receivers. You've provided something your quarterback needs, a young guy who's trying to learn, and you brought in a top guy who's put up numbers, by the way, despite situations that have not been good in Carolina. And I say this all the time. The way you judge a wide receiver is not by just pure numbers, but by how he puts up those numbers with the situation he's in. So, for example, I bring this up. Allen Robinson, great wide receiver. Here's why. Had a plethora of different quarterbacks in Chicago and Jacksonville, still put up 1,000 yards. Look at DJ Moore and his numbers. 3 straight years of 1,000 yards. Last year, 888. And who was throwing to him last year? P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. My goodness. And he nearly put up 1,000 again. With that team, with those quarterbacks throwing to him, he still produced. DJ Moore, regardless of who's at quarterback, can put up numbers. Like, what about the year before, 2021, put up 1,000-plus yards, Matt Rule as head coach, and they had Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, and P.J. Walker thrown to him. That's horrible. Year before that, Teddy Bridgewater, P.J. Walker throwing to him. Horrible. I mean, he's never had a great quarterback throwing to him, and yet he's put up quality WR1 type numbers. Can you imagine what's going to happen if Justin Fields really turns it on in 2023 and he has DJ Moore right there, and Justin Fields turns more into a passer instead of a runner, and he has a number one wide receiver? It is going to be mayhem on the field. And that's how I know I don't even need to watch DJ Moore play to know that he is a quality wide receiver. It's that simple. And I've seen him play. He's a great wide receiver. But what I'm saying is he's been through so many mediocre quarterbacks, and he's still put up numbers. He's still found ways to produce. He's going to do it here. He is going to do it here. The Bears wide receiving core has become, I'd say, top 12 in football based on depth, based on who they have. Now, there was a new report that came out today, and this is interesting for Pro Football Talk. Actually came out just an hour before we came on live. The arrival of DJ Moore could complicate the Bears' relationship with Chase Claypool. So Chase Claypool is going to need to be paid after 2023. DJ Moore is going to be making $20 million per year, and he's under contract through 2025, but Claypool will want money next year. Pretty scary. Maybe time to worry. So here's what I take from that conversation and from this article. This is a prove-it year for Chase Claypool. Should the Bears be paying him $20 million per year? Is DJ Moore worth it? Yes, and here's why. I don't like paying wide receivers $20 million per year, but here's why I'll tolerate it with more. The other wide receiving options out there in free agency are really, frankly, trash. And that's why I think the Bears did so good in acquiring somebody now before free agency started. Because right now, as I look at this list, everybody's old and everybody sucks. Those are the options for free agency for wide receivers. Adam Thielen, Robbie Anderson, Nelson Aguilar, Sterling Shepard, DJ Chark, Randall Cobb, Marvin Jones, Julio Jones, Byron Pringle, who should never step foot in Chicago again. These options suck. They're horrible. And I would not advocate for the Bears paying any of those guys even $15 million. So I'm okay with them paying more $20. And if Chase Claypool wants to have a problem with contracts come next year, it'll all depend on this year what he's going to do. There are no more excuses for Chase Claypool. None. You got to produce this year. Right now. Like this season, Chase Claypool better have at least 800 yards. That's a fair assessment for him. Last year, you can make all the excuses you want. He was hurt, didn't learn the playbook, wasn't used enough. This year, no excuses. If Chase Claypool doesn't have 800 yards, your ass is out the door. The Bears don't need to pay him. They could draft somebody and replace him or sign somebody next year. But the timing of this is amazing. The Bears did not have to pay anybody this year at wide receiver. Now they have 3. They could draft somebody else, make it 4, and you're good. They don't need to pay anybody, which is amazing. Because this group is just completely underwhelming, frankly. I mean, 5 years ago, Adam Thielen, okay, great. Robbie Anderson, Nelson Aguilar, these are some nice names, and these are all recognizable names, but have any of them produced lately? The answer is no, not really. Robert Woods just got signed to a deal for 2 years. That's it. Maybe Robert Woods would have been nice, but, I mean, N'Keal Harry's going to be a free agent. I mean, look at these other players out here. Sammy Watkins is so old. Jamison Crowder. None of these guys have performed in a long time. I mean, Philip Dorsett. I mean, what are we looking at out here? T.Y. Hilton, who's going to be 33 years old. Odell Beckham still available. The Bears will need wide receivers in the future. They needed one this year, and they got one without having to overpay for some of these crappy free agent wide receivers. And by the way, they could still draft a wide receiver next year in the first round or this year at number 9 and again at 61. And the Bears have a great track record of drafting people late in drafts and making them into superstars. Darnell Mooney, 5th round pick. Bayless was a 3rd round pick, and that didn't really work well, but anything is possible for this year. I think it's worth remembering something that we didn't talk about much in this trade. Everybody was so focused on the top pick and the picks that came back. I was too. I was guilty of that. But when you actually go through the weeds of this trade, the top thing right now, something tangible that we could see, is DJ Moore coming in and becoming right away the number 1 wide receiver. The Bears were in desperate need of a top guy. Now they got one as a part of this trade, and he's going to be controllable through at least 2025 for $20 million a year, which truly is a discount. It's a discount compared to some of these other wide receivers who are going to want big money for no results. DJ Moore is young, and he stands up to the test of, is he a good wide receiver? In fact, he's a great wide receiver. He is. If you're putting up 1,000+ yards per year with the likes of Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker, and Baker Mayfield thrown to you, yes, you're a great wide receiver. You are a number 1. You know how to put up numbers. You know how to get open. You know how to catch footballs from 4 different quarterbacks, all of whom are mediocre. You are a number 1 wide receiver. You deserve to be paid, and you deserve to be the guy here in Chicago for Justin Fields. So many people in the chat right now, so many people with us, and we appreciate all of it. The timing was right, according to Dan Tana. I agreed. Greatest trade in sports history, Iceberg Slim. Interesting. Well, we're going to have to wait and see about the jury on that one. How would you address both lines in free agency and the draft? Well, I'll tell you what, Philip, I appreciate the comment. The Bears have to draft, and we're going to talk about this actually in our next segment, so you should stay tuned for that. The Bears have to draft an edge rusher. They have to draft an offensive tackle in this draft at hopefully numbers 9 and 61. Then from there, you can still address people in free agency with what you need. Cornelius, man, I'm so pumped about the offseason. LFG, yes. You keeping N'Keal Harry? No, Andre. He's going to be gone. N'Keal Harry is going to be a free agent. Zane Cozy, the Bears could get Marvin Harrison Jr. next year from the Panthers pick, which is possible. Then you go from there. There's another quality wide receiver. You add him to potentially a lineup that will include at least DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney, maybe Chase Claypool still. Then you got potentially Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney being your 3 and 4. No RB at 9. It's all about the lines for both sides. So the Bears draft JSN and don't pay Mooney next year. Adam, I think that's a great idea. So there's definitely chemistry for JSN and also Justin Fields. I think it'd be a great idea. But I would actually suggest this. Maybe I'm wrong. I would rather pay Darnell Mooney than Chase Claypool right now. Chase Claypool has done nothing in a Bears uniform to deserve a contract. Darnell Mooney at least has shown that he can put up numbers despite bad quarterback play or different offenses or developmental projects on offense. So if I had to pick today between one of those two to pay, I would actually pick Mooney over Claypool. That's just me.